attention, everyone. It is 7 o'clock, so we can get started. Welcome to the Golf and the View Committee meeting of 15th of April. It's lovely to see councillors here and our golf course manager as well, and of course our ably assisted by our officer in charge, Georgia. So I see no members of the public, but I do remind you that the meeting is being video recorded and will be on YouTube after the meeting. There's the fire exit. With that in mind, I think I can proceed to the first matter, which is apologies for absent. And Fraser, our golf professional, sends his apologies. That's the only apologies that have been notified to me. We now turn to disclosure of interests. And just to say that any member who has a disclosable pecuniary interest or an interest other than a pecuniary interest as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and the Localism Act 2011 should disclose accordingly. I need not deal with item 3, that's public participation, since there are no members of the public present. So I'm delighted to proceed to the golf professionals update report, and well, Fraser isn't here, so are you going to take that, Georgia?
Yeah, by all means. I mean, I think what I would say is obviously Fraser's presented his update report, or his update, sorry, in the report itself. If you do have any questions, you know, we can try and field them, Simon and ourselves, or if not, we can take them away and speak to Fraser and relay them back. But yeah, welcome any questions.
I simply note that there does seem to be a fairly healthy financial state of affairs, and that seems to derive from the good weather, so we should be thankful for good weather we've been having. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, absolutely. Really pleased to see such a positive financial report, and that many new members seem to be taking up membership. I suppose one query I would have had Fraser been here, I would be asking about how the 15 months for the price of 12 would affect the sort of future financial projections. I'm not sure if there's anyone here who's able to answer that. But perhaps that's something I can bring up at a future meeting, because it does seem to be popular and a good way of getting people in. And I know of some other organisations who do sort of similar things, but I just sort of wonder what that means down the line. But that's more of a curiosity thing rather than a sort of any particular comment in the sense of positive or negative. But yeah, I'm really pleased that it seems to be good weather, but also obviously people have been working hard to get that membership up, and so brilliant.
Do you want me to give a slight?
Okay.
I could offer the
Sorry.
smallest reply to that. So, in terms of 15 for 12, we don't lose any money. Those people are committing to a 12-month membership, and they get to play golf from either January, February, or March, depending on when they join. So it could be 15 or 14 or 13.
I see. So it's sort of it goes for a sort of calendar year starting in the spring.
Yeah, so their members, they can join early from the 1st of January, but their membership and their subscription will be from April the 1st till 31st of March the following year, and the hope is that they then choose to renew that. It works quite well because a lot of courses closed for the really wet in the winter, so we attract some people then, and also some golf courses, their membership runs from January to the end of December, so we try and pick up either some people leaving or something. Yeah. So financially wise, we're not losing anything. The hope is that they then renew as a regular 12-month the following year.
I just may say that's a fantastic explanation for you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Bristow, and Councillor Meek.
Can I just say, I just want to congratulate Fraser. I think that's, I mean, an extra 47,000 is a huge, increase in takings. I think that's really, really great. And I do talk to people occasionally when I'm out on the golf course and say, are you having a good day? Where have you come from? And they've often come from some way away, actually. Upfield or Southampton or Eastbourne, they often report in the winter that they can't play at their course because it's flooded or it's just out of bounds because of the weather. And you, Simon, managed to keep it in such a splendid state all year that we obviously have an uptake of people who can't play elsewhere. So I think it's hugely congratulatory to all of you that's going forward like it is. And the course seems to be in a great condition, so thank you.
Okay. I'm looking at Councillors Buchanan and Walraven just to see if they have a question before we move on.
I have no more to add, but I'll just endorse Councillor Meek's words.
Okay, and I would add my weight to these remarks as well, if I could. So that takes us to the course manager's update report.
So we just need to vote to note.
Oh,
the
I
update.
do. I do, pardon, I always forget that bit. So, does anyone want to propose that we note this report? Councillor Buchanan? Anyone wish to second? Councillor Meek? All in favour? Okay. Thank you. So we can move to the course manager's update report.
Good evening. I don't have a lot more to add to my report. I'll touch on a few of the details. I'll start with what we just spoke about. It's really good that we can attract these people for the winter. We're aided quite a lot by the chalk downs rather than being on clay, which helps, but makes my job a lot easier. The only thing it does, the only downside to that is it creates a lot of wear through the winter that we now pay for in terms of having to get recovery and sow seed. But I think the financial benefit of having those people coming in and then hopefully joining for the year outweighs that. But it just means that some courses that come out of winter and go into spring almost pristine because they've not been played on for 3 months, whereas we've been played on through the winter. So that's one of the, it's not a downside, but one of the challenges to having a popular busy course through the winter period. But moving on to that, so spring's been okay so far. We had a warm period, which we thought this is going to be brilliant, but it then went dry. We measured 7 mil of rain from mid-February through till yesterday night, last night. And we had 10 mil last night, so we're really pleased about that. We've done a lot of recovery work with sowing seed. We've created some wildflower areas, so this rain will hopefully just help to burst those seeds and get it going. Machinery-wise, they've all been serviced now. We anticipate delivery of the new machinery end of this month, if not beginning of May, mainly due to the bank holiday now that may delay it a little bit of a week. And I think in the report you'd note that we've asked a change to what we've done in previous years. We've asked, the financial regulations changed, I believe I'm looking at Georgia for his one, so we need to ask permission to sell the machines that we're replacing. So in one of the things is to approve the decision for us to pick the best price to sell those machines. I would stress that we have done this every year when we've replaced machines. We don't have the storage capacity to store the old ones. It wasn't much of a problem in the past because there wasn't much value in them. Now, since machines have gone up and then second-hand values have gone up, we're talking about a bigger chunk of money. So it's good that we go through this process. I welcome any other questions.
Well, I will open up 2 questions to the councillors. Councillor Meek?
Some, absolutely, that's fine. I think we will pass that through. Obviously, it's great to be able to recoup money from second-hand machinery in order to subsidise what we need to buy. That's obviously great, and I think it would be great to give you carte blanche to do that as and when you think is fit, a good time to do it. I was going to ask, there's been quite a lot of dramatic cutting back of undergrowth and things like that. Is that just to, I mean, I'm thinking particularly along Chewington Road, under the trees there, you've really got over all the scrub, all the bramble. Is that to allow regrowth underneath, or is that actually to give a clearer sight of the fairways,
It's no intention whatsoever to do with golf. It doesn't really
right.
affect the golf in any way, but that area in particular had become sort of wildly overgrown
Yeah.
and too dense.
Mm.
Some of the trees that were growing were self-seeded and then
Yeah.
non-native.
Yeah.
Seaford National Park officer that we met wasn't keen on keeping any of them
Right.
because of the non-nativeness.
Mhm.
But what we decided to do first is clear that area where we used to not really cut the divide between Southdown Corner Field and then the golf course, but we always used to cut once a year, cut and bale the field and along the road. Now we're going to include that central section in it, and we've raised the canopy of those trees just to help with reducing some of the non-native species. So as those trees self-seed, we can manage the new ones rather than removing what's already there and established, but we can prevent any more self-seeding. So the only change, I suppose, is cutting that extra dense section between the field and the golf course, and that was from management. We're on a chalk grassland site, and up the top of the course is designated as chalk grassland for the SSSI, so it's favourable to thin out those long grasses and that scrub and allow the wildflowers to come from underneath. And it's going to be a long process, especially in that area that's never been done. We've seen benefits on the field already, particularly on the slopes, I think, where there's lower fertility. Down the bottom there is a lot more fertile, sort of bottom of the valley, and all the silts and the clays run down there. But over time, our plan is once a year to cut and collect or cut and bale machinery, allowing a budget allowing to just try and thin out those areas. But yeah, it was good. It was through the winter. It was a dramatic change to the view along the road because we'd never really. I could stand there and the grass was taller than me in some areas, and all matted with the bramble and scrub. So yeah, that was the reasoning behind it. It didn't really affect playing anyway. And just past that area, we rotivated. I think it was about 2,500 square metres. We rotivated. We didn't use any weed killers. Some people spray it off and then rotate. We chose to
all along the strip.
along the strip from the bottom of Arundel Road to where you join the field, and we sown that with a wildflower mix that was made up for us. So we did that about a week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
We did it a week earlier than that outside the view, and that's starting to grow now.
Right.
So hoping with this rain we might see some shoots.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a cornfield mix is called, but they took out some of the annuals that are not really favourable for our area and included some vetch and some other bits like that, which sort of link with the disease-resistant elms that are on Southdown Corner, which attract I think it's the white lettuce tree butterfly that the elms that they planted attract, and apparently they really like the vetch as well, so that's in the wildflower mix.
Excellent. Thanks.
But the idea is we're going to do that. We're doing that whole section in thirds, so there's a lot of perennial wildflowers in there, and we're going to that section will then allow it to develop naturally again. We'll do the next third next June and the next third the year after. So the idea is that come year 3 and year 4, there'll be a sort of we'll enhance the wildflowers within there, and it'll just be a cut and clear every year, allow the seeds to drop, and then we'll should see
Right.
some more wildflowers in that area.
Great.
Can I ask another question? Is there any? Would there be any benefit in? I just wonder. We've got lots of volunteers who are really keen on doing stuff like this. Wonder if there's any merit in trying to clear out, actually dig out some of the root of the bramble, because it's really embedded in there, isn't it? I just wondered if that would give it, on that the bit where the trees are, where, where the little lock up is and everything, and or whatever, because where you've taken it out from under the trees, I just wondered if that might be, because that bramble will just grow back every year, won't it? And you'll just have to, but or do you think that what you do, just cutting and baling it every autumn or whatever it would be, is a good way to do it?
I'm hoping that's the best way to do it. It was a learning. We used to mow the field just entirely, and then we left it grow for a couple of years, and it was too thick and too dense. And year on year, we've seen it thin out and we've seen it improve.
Oh, okay.
And so our hope is that without any chemicals or anything like that, we can just slow to do that. But I can certainly look into it, and that definitely. I know there's a lot of work going on Nature Reserve about Aconia stuff. Stripping that out, but I don't see any there. But certainly the brambles and that, it might be.
Yeah.
But then there's people that monitor the birds that would argue that they're going to want to come and eat the blackberries. It's trying to find a balance between the holes. And we sort of, in my mind, I pitched that lower area as a mix of everything. So we've got the trees, which the tree wardens of Seaford really like. We've got some long grasses that allow the wildflowers. We've got some mown grass that can come and play on. And then, I hope that we've just got a balance of everything. And I think that's the key, balancing it out rather than trying to create it all as one area.
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Walraven.
Just wondering if the 17th grade and the 18th is on track for,
I probably should have updated you on that. So we've, with the help from the projects and assets team, Sharon and Paul in particular, we've had quite a lot of meetings now with Natural England, Sussex Wildlife Trust. Paul's speaking to Historic England at the moment because he's on the RNH4 area. We're at a point now where we're going to employ an ecologist, because there's been some discrepancies on the rides that we want to create, what widths they should be, what sort of size they should be. So we're going to employ an ecologist to come and meet with us and really nail down on the fine detail of our design. The initial design that we had made, we've presented to, we believe, every body that might be interested. The Seaford Natural History Society giving us feedback, Sussex Wildlife Trust giving us feedback. So then we're going to move forward, put all this all together with an ecology report, and then go to pre-application with South Downs National Park. We're on. I'd say we're on track.
Yeah. So when do you think you're going to approach South Downs National Park?
South Downs National. So we've already had discussions with them. Paul Quanstrom would be better able to answer that question. I'm hopeful that before the summer we'll be able to get an application in, and it'll be pre-application. But what we've tried to do is collect all the feedback and all the information from all the different bodies. So when we do that, any questions they might have had, we've given the answers to at the same time as putting that application in.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Mead has another question, I think, which I will take, but do be brief at this time, Councillor Mead.
I just wondered if you have actually found an ecologist to do the work, because I could make a suggestion.
I welcome any suggestions.
Of a freelance ecologist who did work for Natural England and has been on the has been on the Seaford Local Nature Reserve Management Committee.
Okay.
John Curzon, he knows that he's lived here a long time, and he knows the head very well. So I just wondered if, because he knows it so well, and he knows the people in the Natural History Society as well, he's got good contacts there. And I just wondered if that might be a good suggestion for you.
Sounds like,
because I know he's retired from Natural England now, and he is doing freelance work. So and he knows the area so well anyway. I don't know what the process would be to get. I don't know if you have to go to different people to do it, but I just think he would be ideal. He knows a lot of the ecologists who worked around.
Paul is dealing with that side of it, sort of making sure we tick all the boxes, but he's left it with me to try and find an ecologist, a couple of ecologists. Okay. So if you're able to share that information, that'd be great.
I'll send his details through to you, Simon.
Brilliant, I appreciate that.
Okay.
If I could come in my chair's capacity, I mean, I'm sure we all welcome suggestions of people we could invite to make their services available. I do note, I think at full council we approved a new tender policy, didn't we? And whatever, I'm sorry that the details are not in my head right now, but whatever we do will have to be done in accordance with our newly agreed policy. I presume you're not, when you're talking about employing someone, but you're not actually talking about employing someone, are you? You're talking about a consultancy contract.
Yeah, a consultancy contract, yeah.
I mean, in terms of our policies, that may make all the difference to what we have to do. But I'm sure you will be entirely compliant, and
Yeah.
we will note that in due course.
Yeah, like I say, I'm working with Paul and Sharon, and Paul in particular is taking lead on making those sort of decisions, because it's certainly not my expertise. My expertise will be being on site and meeting with the people, but yeah, Paul will make sure that we follow all the right processes.
In the meantime, if we can make sure that anyone who might be qualified to do the role is aware that we are seeking to engage a consultant, that can only be to our benefit. Councillor Bristow.
Thanks, and then we'll change the subject a bit away from that, if that's okay, at this point. Going to the machinery, and the point in the, I think there are sort of two linked points that I wanted to touch on. In 1.26 on page 11, you're talking about this torrid GTX, the lithium one for the electric fleet, allowing for the call setup in the mornings to be quieter, which I just really welcome, because I know we've had a bit of feedback from some residents. I can't remember the details of it, and it's probably not appropriate, but I think, you know, making that quieter is good. It allows you to sort of start at an earlier time without disturbing anyone, so that's great. And regarding the actual two items of machinery that you've ordered there, I just noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, are they sort of like for like replacement, or, I mean, now that we've had that machinery for time, are they sort of, the technology's moved on and they're sort of, I don't know, Mark 4 rather than Mark 2 of these things, or how does that work?
They're pretty much like for like. There's some new emission rules.
Okay.
So I believe the new rough mode is now tier 4. Without having a spec in front of me, I can't answer. It's now tier 4 on emissions, so it's a smaller engine with a turbo in it. Uses more oxygen and less fuel in it.
Oh, brilliant.
So it has a DPF filter, which causes more problems, but it also makes it cleaner.
Yeah.
So the rough mode is definitely that. The T's mode is very much like for like. The engine's a lot smaller anyway. But they make improvements all the time in sort of cutting units, the quality of cut, the after cut finish, stuff like that. So it'll be the newest technology in blades and cylinders and stuff like that.
That's great.
But other than that, it is like for like, and we've had it for 6.5 years now, and they do a fantastic job in efficiency and operator comfort and stuff like that.
That's great. So the team are used to using them.
Yeah, the team are used to them, and the brands are the same. Their suppliers are really good with parts, and so yeah, it's they're the best. We did try others. We always demo normally because we can get an extra machine for free to try it out, and yeah, we did demo others, but nothing came close.
Okay, thanks very much.
Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, just coming back to some thoughts on these electric vehicles. How many do you have,
So in the greenkeeping team, we've got 2 utility vehicles. We've got an electric golf buggy, and we've got an electric GTX lift room, which is a carrying bag, so we can put soils and seeds and tools and stuff like that in the back.
And of the other vehicles that you have, which you will be planning to replace?
Yeah.
Will those be replaced with the electric?
There's not the technology available to do the job that we need to do at the moment. Certainly within mowing technology. So they are big. The biggest downside for us is we only have one of everything. For example, greens mowers, which we use most days throughout the season, would only cut 20-21 greens. We've got 19, but we're also a hilly course, so we couldn't trust those mowers to do a full cut. And then sometimes in the higher growing season we do a double cut, so we go in 2 different directions, and that doesn't give us the capacity to be able to do that. There's some courses that are running them now, but they have 2 of them. So but they also have more staff, so they can have 2 people going out cutting greens in the morning. But I know Mara only cut 9 or 10 greens each.
So the electric vehicles that you have, you're able to charge those up overnight?
Yeah, yeah, and especially the GTX Lithium, it came with the extended battery, so it's got 3 sets of batteries. We can get 3 days out of that before we need to charge it up.
And I presume you have a good overnight tariff for that?
Yes. I assume we do. It's certainly something I could look into.
That I'd be very interested to
Yeah.
know what tariff the golf club uses.
Yeah.
Because if you are charging up electric vehicles, that could be quite a substantial.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is they're running on a 3-pin, pretty much like a kettle plug. They're not electric vehicles in terms of sort of 5 or 6 or even 10 kilowatt like a car vehicle. They're more of the sort of battery that would be in a mobility scooter or something like that. So in terms of the level of power they're using, they're not using a lot, but it's definitely worth looking at. And down the clubhouse we've got 6 electric hire buggies, and they go out most days. So that's certainly, amongst all of them, it could be a good saving if we're not getting the best rate with it.
Councillor Bristow, I will allow a brief
Thanks, yeah. Brief
intervention.
follow-up. I remember some time ago, not that long ago, I think it was Fraser, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, was looking at getting some EV charging points up there, because I know we'd looked at it as a council and then it wasn't favourable, however there was a different scheme. Do you know anything, is there any update on that you know of? Or?
I don't know any update. I don't believe, from what I remember, Fraser will be the best person to check.
Yeah.
I don't think the PJ options worked out to be the best. I think there was discussions about the number of charging points compared to what is required to meet those certain terms. But I don't know how far it's gone since then.
Thanks, hopefully we'll get another update soon. Yeah.
Okay, unless there are any interventions from those who have not yet spoken, I will come to voting on this matter. So we have, the first vote is to note the content of the report. Does anyone wish to propose? Councillor Walraven, anyone wish to second? Councillor Bristow, all in favour? So the report is noted. The next vote is to enable Simon to dispose of the items of golf machinery. Does anyone wish to propose that we authorise him to do that? Councillor Meek, anyone wish to second? Councillor Buchanan, all in favour? Well, that matter is approved. This brings us to item 6, which I believe Georgia will present. That's the income and expenditure report.
Thank you, Chair. So I think I'd say kind of similar again. Obviously, we don't have Lucy here who has written this update. Obviously, welcome any questions from the committee, and we'll either try and answer them ourselves or we can take them away and come back to you with responses at a later date. But yeah, welcome any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Pretty fine to me.
It looks pretty fine to me. We need some of the F&GP people on here. They'd be over it like a rash. But not that that is necessarily always desirable. Is there anything you wish to draw attention to in particular, Georgia?
I mean, I don't think so. Obviously, the report's quite concise. Gives kind of the overview of where we are year to date in this financial year. The financial appraisal at the end is confirming that the income's sitting at just under 107% of the annual budget, which clearly is very good, and the expenditure is around 84%, of the budget, which is just slightly lower than where you'd expect to be at this point in the financial year. So net income year to date is currently £80,000, which really is, a healthy figure to be sitting at.
Excellent. It does look good. Does anyone wish to propose that we note the report?
Yeah.
Councillor Mead, will anyone second that? Councillor Walraven, all in favour? That matter is carried and the report is duly noted. Which brings us to item 7, the Golf and the View Committee overview. Is that also you, Georgia?
Yeah, I can take that. So I think what I'll just say is this is something, a report that we've been doing for each of the committees that will no longer be existing under the new committee structure. So really it's just a bit of a kind of a wrap up of the work that's been done by the committee in its time. With this report, we did only go back to 2016, which is when the committee evolved to also include the view, but as a committee, a golf committee, I think Councillor Walraven will probably speak better on this than me, but it's certainly been around for all of the town council's life, as I understand. And I think, it's always been one of those committees that maybe does have slightly less kind of public attendance, public kind of participation, but really gets into the detail and, is kind of quite a passionate committee, I would say, and I think that's come across when looking back at the work that the committee's done. So really this report is just capturing that, and just there's a motion there to, a recommendation to pass a motion of thanks to current and former members of the committee. And welcome any questions, of course.
Well, what a lovely idea to put together that particular report and to offer those thanks. I suppose the golf course is one of the jewels in the crown of our rather large number of municipal assets, so I guess it's appropriate. Does anyone have any comments that they wish to make or questions they wish to put to Georgia? Councillor Bristow.
It's actually something which I think I've put forward on similar reports in other committees, and that is to actually put forward a recommendation to, or a proposal to amend recommendation 2 to include the support of the officers and in this case staff as well to the committee over the years. So if I may, so I haven't worded that the best way, but if I may propose that we include staff and officers as well in our thanks.
I would indeed support that.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. Since neither of you have offered a form of words to express that, I will endeavour to provide one here in my capacity as chair. And at the end of the motion, which motion 2 will keep as is, in place of the full stop comma, and to thank officers. So we're going to so I imagine the golf course manager and professional don't fall under officers, do they? So we would say officers.
They do.
They do. Okay, so that will suffice, does it? And to thank officers for their officers past and present, for their service to the committee. Does that meet your
Thank you, Councillor Sturton, yes.
does that meet your expectations? Okay, any other comments before I move this to vote? Okay, so on the first matter to vote, does anyone wish to propose that we note the contents of the report? Councillor Mead, you're on a roll here in your proposals. And seconded, Councillor Walraven, equally fast on the draw. All in favour? And I think we need to vote now on the amendment. Councillor Bristol, I presume you wish to propose your amendment, and Councillor Buchanan has already spoken in favour of that amendment as worded by me. Do you need me to read it, or can we just vote? Okay, does anyone wish to propose the item 2 as amended? Councillor Bristow, anyone wish to second? Councillor Buchanan, all in favour? That matter is carried. Thank you, Councillor Bristow, for your amendment. That was good save. Right, is that? I don't think we'll be having a Seaford Head Golf Club update because there's no representation from the club, is there? So we pass over that. So I know that it is now 7:35 p.m. and this meeting is now closed.